Cole Palmer's been getting really overrated this season. But that's not why I wanted to make this video. I want to make this video because Cole Palmer fits into the type of player that I'd like to call the big player in a small pond type of player. So what does that mean? It means that he's the type of player that will look good in a team with a second-rate attack, where everything is built completely around him. But his game doesn't translate so well once he goes to one of the better teams. A lot of people are saying that Man City made a mistake by letting him go. No, they didn't. If Cole Palmer had stayed at Man City, his performance levels wouldn't be any different from the past 2 or 3 seasons, which is, frankly speaking, just mediocre at best. At Man City, he wouldn't get nearly the level of tactical priority that he's getting at Chelsea right now. Chelsea are literally playing him like he's a Messi, trying to get the ball to him in all the comfortable areas right outside the box. They're basically using him to start all the attacks at this point. Cole Palmer is very dependent on having the ball at his feet. His off-the-ball output is extremely limited. So, when you build a team around a player like this, inevitably, everyone else kind of becomes a side piece, and all their off-the-ball movement and passing patterns will be entirely based around enabling that Cole Palmer receives the ball in positions that he finds comfortable. Also, Cole Palmer's playing style is a little bit unorthodox. If you look at his heat map, this is clearly not a heat map of a traditional winger. It's almost like he's a player who wants to play centrally, but ends up drifting onto the wing a lot. So why is that happening? The simple answer is that Cole Palmer's ball retention is not quite good enough to play as a number 10, because his skill set is perfect for playing as a number 10. His final ball is pretty good, his vision is pretty good, his shooting accuracy is pretty good, his small space direct dribbling is pretty good, but his ball retention is not quite up there, and that's because of his lanky body build. Musiala, because of his height, is already someone that I find somewhat awkward watching him dribble in central areas all the time. And Musiala is only 6 feet tall. Cole Palmer is 6'2", and is even lankier. So this body build is really unsuited to playing as a number 10. But at the same time, he doesn't really have the strength or the speed to excel as a traditional right winger. He can't really beat people for pace. He doesn't really have the strength to deal with defenders in one-on-one touchline dribbles. And if you combine that with his inadequate ball retention play as a number 10, you end up with a hybrid right winger number 10. So you have a player who has attributes that would make him a good number 10, but not all of them. So he ends up hiding out on the wing, waiting until he can kind of come into the center. And that's where Chelsea's system comes in. The entire system is now built around creating enough space for him to come into the center, where he can influence the game more. Typically with these players, a lot of them like to play with, quick outlets, which at Chelsea you have Mudryk, you have Sterling, you have Jackson, all speedy, pacey players whose off-the-ball movement right now entirely revolves around Cole Palmer's tendencies. So a lot of people might be wondering, how high is the ceiling for a team built around a player like Cole Palmer? In terms of the attacking quality, not so much. You're probably never going to have a team become an offensive super team if their entire team is built around Cole Palmer. But it's good enough for a team to be really competitive. You don't need to have the best attack to be really competitive on all levels. So you look at Chelsea 2012. They won the Champions League even though they had a pretty mediocre attack that season. You look at Chelsea 2021. Again, they won the Champions League despite their attack not being particularly good. Or the Atletico Madrid that reached 2 Champions League finals. Again, they didn't have the best attack either. So, Chelsea can potentially become a top team one day, even with Cole Palmer as their main man. But they will never have one of the best attacks in Europe. And if Cole Palmer does go to one of these top attacking sides, he's going to flop. Or at least he's not going to perform at nearly the level that he's performing at right now at Chelsea. Because no team with a top level attack will give him that much of the ball. They won't make him that much of a priority. Now, another question that a lot of people have been asking is, should Southgate call him up for the English national team? I think the answer is an emphatic no. If Gareth Southgate wants to play Cole Palmer and get the best out of him, he needs to build the entire team around him. He needs to essentially play him as a mini Messi, except he doesn't have the output of a Messi. It makes no sense for Southgate to be calling him up. If Southgate does call him up, all that's going to happen is Cole Palmer is going to struggle, right? Because Southgate is not going to give him the tactical priority that he needs. Cole Palmer literally needs to be treated like an undisputed main man in order to shine. He's not capable of shining as a role player. There's zero reason for Cole Palmer starting ahead of Saka for the national team. So in short, Cole Palmer is a player that will never excel at a team with a top-level attack, but a team built around him can still have a decently good enough attack to still be a top team, provided that their defense is really, really good. He's a decently good player, but he's not some world beater, and he never will be.